Let me tell you something most people never realize. You don't become a millionaire by luck. You don't attract wealth by chance. You earn it, first in your mind, then in your life. The wealthy, they think differently. They move deliberately, and they train their mind like it's their most powerful asset. Because it is. You see, your mind, is a tool far more powerful than any stock, any business, or any connection. But here's the truth. Most people never learn how to use it. Today, it changes. Your mind is a magnet, and whether you realize it or not, it is constantly pulling into your life people, circumstances, and results that match your most dominant thoughts. This is not philosophy. It's a fact, grounded in the way energy and vibration work. Every thought you think emits a frequency. That frequency attracts similar frequencies. If you're constantly thinking about debt, struggle, and lack, you're not just observing your situation, you're reinforcing it and drawing more of it to you. This is the law of attraction, but more importantly, it's the law of vibration in action. Wealthy people don't think about what they lack. They think about what they want and act as if it's already theirs. They understand that the mind has a magnetic quality, and they deliberately tune it to abundance, prosperity, growth, and opportunity. When you wake up each day, your thoughts begin to shape the world around you. Most people don't train their thoughts, they react to life. But millionaires respond. They create their day with intention. They visualize their goals. They speak in affirmations. They believe deeply that what they desire is not only possible, but inevitable. That kind of thinking creates a vibration so strong it begins to influence everything in their environment. Business opportunities, creative ideas, key connections, and even random strokes of luck seem to find their way to people who are tuned to receive. This isn't wishful thinking. It's working with universal laws. You cannot attract success with thoughts of failure. You cannot attract riches by dwelling on poverty. Wealthy people have trained their minds to focus only on the outcome they want, not the fear that might hold them back. The average person thinks reactively. What if it doesn't work? What if I lose money? What if I'm not good enough? But the millionaire mindset flips the question. What if it works better than I imagined? What if I double my income? What if I was born for this? That subtle shift in thinking shifts your entire vibration. It lifts your confidence, sharpens your awareness, and places you in a mental state where success is not just a hope, it's an expectation. Thoughts are like seeds, and your mind is the soil. Whatever you plant will grow, and the energy you give those thoughts through attention, emotion, and repetition determines the strength of what you manifest. Millionaires plant seeds of wealth, confidence, resilience, and clarity. They don't entertain thoughts of limitation. They train their minds to dismiss anything that doesn't serve their goal. They don't wait for their situation to change before they think differently. They think differently, and their situation changes in response. Most people get this backward. They want evidence before they believe. Millionaires believe first, and the evidence always follows. When you think, you send it out. When you feel it, you draw it in. So if you keep thinking thoughts of frustration, competition, or fear, those emotions lower your frequency and block wealth from flowing to you. But when you train your mind to think in harmony with prosperity, your emotional state rises, and you begin to act, speak, and walk with the confidence of someone who already owns success. Beliefs shape reality in every area of life, and nothing has a stronger influence on your financial destiny than the beliefs you hold about yourself. What you believe about money, success, and your own worth is exactly what you will experience. The reason some people remain stuck in the same income level for years is not because of their job, education, or environment. It's because of the mental image they hold of themselves. That self-position acts like a thermostat. No matter how much effort they apply, no matter how many opportunities appear, they will always revert back to the level of success they believe they deserve. Millionaires understand this. They have upgraded their self-position to match the life they want, not the life they came from. You can only achieve what your self-position will allow. If you see yourself as someone who earns just enough to get by, your mind will sabotage any chance of breaking that ceiling. If you see wealth as something meant for others but not for you, you will unconsciously repel opportunities and talk yourself out of every bold decision. This is not just mindset, it's identity. Millionaires don't try to act rich. They see themselves as already successful even before the money shows up. That belief becomes the foundation for every decision they make, every risk they take, and every goal they pursue. They do not wait for proof. They move with conviction that they are already the person they are becoming. Your subconscious mind controls 95% of your behavior, and it is programmed by belief. Most people have beliefs installed in them from childhood. Ideas about money being evil, rich people being greedy, or success being for the lucky. These beliefs are rarely questioned, but they control everything. If you believe money is hard to earn, that belief will direct your actions, your effort, and your results. If you believe wealth flows easily when value is created, you will approach your work with a different energy. That difference in energy creates a different outcome. Millionaires have spent time identifying and removing limiting beliefs. They have reprogrammed their subconscious mind through repetition, visualization, and conscious affirmation. You cannot outperform your self-position for long. Even if you get lucky and make more money, if your internal belief system hasn't changed, you'll find a way to lose it, sabotage it, or shrink back to where you're comfortable. This is why so many lottery winners go broke, because they never upgraded the internal image that governs their behavior. Millionaires don't just focus on earning, they focus on becoming. They invest time in building belief systems that support wealth, abundance, and worthiness. They believe they deserve to win. They believe they can grow. They believe success is their responsibility, not a matter of chance or approval. And because of that belief, they step into opportunities others are too afraid to take. Changing your beliefs begins with awareness. Pay attention to how you talk about money. Listen to your inner dialogue when opportunities arise. Do you shrink or expand? Do you say, I can't afford that? Or do you ask, how can I make that possible? That shift in belief opens up new mental pathways. Repetition builds wealth habits, not luck. The truth is, no one stumbles into lasting success by accident. Millionaires know that wealth is not a one-time decision. It's the outcome of consistent thoughts and repeated behaviors that compound over time. Just as a bodybuilder doesn't build muscle from one workout, a wealthy mind isn't built from one good idea or one big break. It's forged through daily disciplines, mental conditioning, and repeated affirmations that align thought, feeling, and action. Repetition is the mechanism that installs new beliefs into the subconscious mind, and without it, even the best intentions fade into old patterns. Most people start with motivation, but motivation fades. What endures is habit. Wealthy individuals program their minds by feeding them the same empowering thoughts again and again until they become automatic. They understand that the subconscious mind does not know the difference between what is real and what is repeated. So they repeat what they want until it becomes real. They read their goals every morning. They visualize success every night. They use affirmations that reinforce identity. I am a millionaire. I am a value creator. I attract opportunities. These statements may feel strange at first, but repetition makes them familiar, and the mind accepts what is familiar as truth. If you repeat excuses, limitations, and doubts, those patterns hardwire into your thinking, and your results will always reflect that programming. On the other hand, if you commit to repeating thoughts of growth, gratitude, and prosperity, your actions will naturally align with those beliefs. Millionaires don't rely on emotion to do what needs to be done. They rely on systems, routines, and rituals. They wake up with intention, review their vision, and take consistent steps toward it, even when they don't feel like it. That consistency builds momentum, and that momentum becomes unstoppable. Every wealthy person you admire has rituals behind the scenes that shape their success. They may look spontaneous or lucky on the surface, but beneath that is a foundation of repeated behavior. They read daily, they network regularly, they invest routinely, they review their numbers weekly, These aren't random activities. They're repeated habits that compound. Repetition builds mastery. It turns good ideas into instinct. It removes hesitation, builds confidence, and turns average performers into exceptional leaders. What separates a millionaire from a struggler is not talent, it's discipline. And discipline is the child of repetition. It's not the child of repetition. Your mind is like a field. Repetition is the act of planting. If you plant thoughts of doubt over and over, you'll harvest fear. If you plant thoughts of wealth, value, purpose, and faith, you'll harvest abundance. Most people expect results after one try. Millionaires expect results after 100. They're not interested in short bursts of effort. They're focused on long-term transformation. They know that every affirmation spoken, every book read, every routine completed is a small deposit in the account of their future wealth. They trust the process because they understand how the mind works. They understand that frequency beats intensity. Repetition trains the brain, reshapes identity, and builds unshakable confidence in one's ability to create wealth. Focus on abundance, not scarcity. What you focus on expands, and this single principle separates those who build wealth from those who constantly chase it. The average person operates from a mindset of lack. They see what they don't have, they talk about what's missing, and they measure their life by limitations. Millionaires flip that script entirely. They discipline their minds to focus on what's possible, what's available, and what can be created. They look for opportunity even in crisis. They believe there's always more money, more ideas, more connections, more paths to success. That focus on abundance opens their mind to solutions that the scarcity-minded never even notice. When someone is trapped in scarcity thinking, every decision becomes rooted in fear. They hesitate to invest, to grow, to step outside their comfort zone. They're constantly worried about what they could lose rather than what they might gain. That energy closes doors. It shuts down creativity. It blocks the flow of wealth. On the other hand, when you focus on abundance, your entire posture changes. You move with faith instead of fear. You operate with calm confidence instead of anxious doubt. You begin to take calculated risks because you trust in the law of supply, that there is always more to be earned, created, and shared. Millionaires know that the universe responds to the dominant vibration of their thoughts. If your mind is constantly fixated on shortage, on what you don't have, that becomes the frequency you transmit. And like attracts like. You start attracting situations, people, and outcomes that match that vibration. But when you choose to see life through the lens of abundance, you elevate your frequency. You start noticing possibilities you missed before. You spot openings, align with solutions, and attract resources that feel almost magical to those stuck in scarcity. Focusing on abundance doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means reframing it. It means refusing to stay mentally stuck in the current state and choosing instead to envision a better one. It means being grateful for what you have while believing that more is on its way. It means asking better questions. Not why can't I, but how can I? Not what if I fail, but what if this changes everything? These shifts in perspective ignite new levels of awareness. They unlock parts of your mind that scarcity thinking keeps closed. People often assume that once they become rich, they'll start thinking abundantly. But the truth is, it works in reverse. You start thinking abundantly, and that shift in consciousness begins the process of wealth creation. Millionaires don't wait for the bank account to change before adjusting their mindset. They align their mindset first, and then the bank account follows. They look for value in every situation, trust in their ability to create, and never allow temporary setbacks to convince them that the supply has run dry. Scarcity thinking is reactive. Abundance thinking is proactive. It's not about having, it's about becoming someone who sees more, expects more, and creates more through the power of focused thought. Millionaires make decisions quickly and change them slowly. This is not a coincidence. It's a deliberate habit rooted in clarity, confidence, and alignment with purpose. The ability to make quick decisions is a hallmark of strong leadership and an empowered mindset. Most people hesitate, second guess, and overthink. They delay action until everything feels safe, certain, and approved by others. But by the time they decide, the opportunity is gone. Millionaires understand that indecision is a decision. It's a decision to stay where you are. Success rewards the decisive because the world moves fast. And those who act first gain momentum, experience, and position, while others are still analyzing. Quick decision-making doesn't mean being impulsive or careless. It means trusting your intuition, your knowledge, and your goals enough to move without fear paralyzing you. Millionaires spend time getting clear on what they want. So when an option presents itself, they already know whether it aligns or not. They've conditioned their minds to act in harmony with their vision. That clarity removes doubt. When your values and goals are strong, decisions become easier. You don't need to consult 100 opinions. You consult your purpose. That internal certainty shortens the gap between thought and action, and that gap is where most people lose their dreams. Changing decisions slowly means committing to your path, even when it gets uncomfortable. Most people quit at the first sign of difficulty. They switch goals, change strategies, or abandon the plan entirely when progress feels slow. Millionaires don't do that. They adapt, they learn, they refine, but they don't constantly start over. Their decisions are made with conviction. Once they've chosen a direction, they stay on it long enough to see results. They understand that success takes time, and the rewards are in the follow-through, not just the start. Making quick decisions and sticking with them builds self-trust, and self-trust is the root of all confidence. People who live in fear tend to delay decisions because they fear making the wrong one. But the real danger isn't a wrong decision, it's no decision. Movement, even in the wrong direction, provides feedback. It gives you data, insight, and experience. Indecision gives you nothing but regret and missed chances. Millionaires would rather decide fast and adjust than wait for perfection. They understand that nothing changes until you commit, and commitment begins with a firm decision. Every major breakthrough in life is preceded by a moment of decision. Not a wish, not a hope, a decision. It's the point where you burn the boats, remove the plan B, and go all in. Most people never reach that point. They hedge, they wait, they waver. Millionaires decide, then they act. And when doubts come, they don't panic. They return to the original decision and remind themselves why they made it. They don't need to keep deciding over and over. They need to keep working the decision they already made. That kind of mental discipline saves time, energy, and emotional noise. It clears the path forward and puts all power behind one direction. You become what you study. Feed your mind like the wealthy. The people who consistently grow their wealth understand that knowledge is their greatest leverage. They study success, they study behavior, they study systems, and they study themselves. They are intentional about what enters their mind because they know that information becomes thought, thought becomes belief, and belief becomes action. Most people spend more time feeding their body than they do feeding their mind. They consume entertainment, distraction, and negativity daily, but wonder why their life doesn't change. Millionaires treat their mind like sacred ground. They guard what enters and deliberately plant the ideas that support their highest vision. Study is not just about reading, it's about conditioning. Millionaires revisit the same ideas over and over because repetition creates mastery. They don't chase 100 books to sound smart. They go deep on a few ideas that change how they see the world. They listen to the same mentors, read the same texts, affirm the same truths until they become part of their thinking. The goal is not just to learn, but to absorb, to make success principles part of their mental wiring. Every podcast they listen to, every seminar they attend, every book they study is chosen with purpose. They ask, does this expand me? And if the answer is yes, they consume it with discipline and focus. You cannot rise above the level of your thinking. If you're surrounded by people who speak doubt, if you scroll through social media filled with fear and scarcity, if you only consume what's trending and shallow, your thinking will reflect that. Millionaires deliberately shape their environment. They spend time with people who think bigger. They follow content that lifts them higher. They read stories that inspire belief. They study wealth creation, leadership, influence, and mindset because they know that what they study, they become. If they want to be sharper in business, they study entrepreneurs. If they want to grow spiritually or emotionally, they study leaders in those fields. They are students first because students become masters. What you focus on intellectually begins to shape your emotional and behavioral patterns. Study is not just about filling your mind with facts. It's about transforming your identity. When you study millionaires, you start to think like one. When you study systems that build wealth, you begin to apply them almost without effort. When you study resilience, you start to respond to life's challenges differently. This is why intentional study is one of the most underrated disciplines in wealth building. It's not glamorous. It doesn't give instant gratification, but it's the root of every lasting change. Millionaires have books on their nightstands, mentors in their ear, and notebooks filled with reflections and goals. They treat study as a form of self-investment. They don't wait for school or society to educate them. They educate themselves. They turn their car into a mobile classroom. They turn downtime into growth time. Every moment is an opportunity to feed the mind with ideas that elevate their vision, clarify their direction, and deepen their belief in what's possible.